liked getting the cash since
Okay.
I did. I just had a moment of frustration.
John, I'm not saying anything. Okay. Whoever you're having this discussion with in your head, I know nothing about.
Okay. All right.
I didn't think for a second you didn't have a good time. And I don't even know what moment of frustration you're talking about. I mean, given you have many.
Just the stupid bathroom.
Okay, well, but we had already gotten onto the road to head home. I wasn't planning on stopping anywhere. And I was simply saying, okay, you already stopped at one bathroom place. The road, I mean, it was all torn up. You went across the street to use the bathroom. Okay, well, one never knows when there's a line there. Why would you not just go and get in line and go? See, somehow in your brain, you don't want to stand there and wait, but you'll waste twice as much time driving around and stopping again. I understand in line. If there were only 2 working stalls, one lady never left the stall. questions, so I'm trying to respond to her. Birding Susan. Wanted to know how I was feeling and when do we go birding. So I'm answering her. And I'm watching the power lines for birds.
think your dad socializes? I mean, talks about these
With
very...
the other inmates, you mean?
Yeah.
I have a feeling he pisses people. He tries to be social because it has an outgoing personality. I don't think it takes much for people to either get annoyed with him because he's very opinionated, he's very negative, he's very critical. So I don't know. I mean, notice he only talked about one friend there.
Yeah.
And the reason they're no longer friends.
Well, I thought there were some other friends who came with us.
Well, yeah, there is a couple that's, I asked their age. I guess they're in their 50s, maybe 60. And he and my dad used to swim together.
So,
Years ago. And that guy does stop by to see my dad, like, according to my dad, I mean, God knows, once a week. I've met them before. They seem nice enough.
well, what about the guy he's not friends with?
The one that lives there?
Well, yeah, well, whatever. I missed that.
Oh, there's a guy that lives there. I can't remember his name. He's told me the same story, though, a couple of times. And once, he changed his mind at the last minute about going to listen to Jim play.
Oh, yeah.
And then, I still don't understand whether he got talked into going or whether it's his second time he gets invited. But once he finds out that somebody else is picking up the check, he orders a steak. Well, now my dad doesn't have anything to do with it. Because he thinks he has all this money. But again, it's the same story I've heard for 70 years. How other people think they're much better than everybody else. Which is maybe not true. It's in their heads. And I get it. My dad grew up extremely poor. I'm sure you don't know another person that grew up as poor as my dad did. Or in his situation. I mean, he had a horrible, horrible childhood. And had to be an adult way too early. Went to the war. I mean, but you would think at some point all that is turned around because he has 3 lovely children. He's got a doting wife that just does basically everything he says. And, he's fine. But he won't focus on that. You didn't hear one story about us growing up. You didn't hear one story about us going up to Lake Erie and him going out on the boat with my grandfather, or how my other aunt and uncle, my mom's brother and his wife, lived pretty much across the lane, tiny little lane, like a drive. One car could fit up the lane. And I mean, all his stories are about his childhood. Or the war. I don't know if you were there when the lady came over and introduced herself.
Well, yeah. I kind of...
And my dad said something about she's a retired professor. And I couldn't hear everything that was being said, but I heard him say she's a retired professor. And the lady said, oh, a professor. And I joked about, well, somebody's going to...
Yeah.
I mean, I just give up.
Yeah.
So, my dad, though, wants to make sure everybody knows. He wants, but who taught you math? Well, I know what the answer is supposed to be. I'm not going to say, oh, well, actually, the most influential person was Dr. Ed Gibson. You know, I mean, he was my mentor. I know what the answer was supposed to be, so I said, oh, obviously you. Well, she picked up on that, because then my dad was talking about, well, how, yes, he taught me everything and how lucky I was. I don't know if you heard her say, oh, no, yeah, he was talking about how, pointing to me, oh, yeah, she's been very lucky. And then she looked at my dad and she patted him on the shoulder. She said, yeah, but somehow I think you're the lucky one. And my dad didn't respond. He may not have heard it, but I think I picked up that people know who my dad is, if they know him. I mean, if they know him at all. So anyway, I don't know where you're going, but does he have friends? No, he's never had friends.
I feel like
my dad is, in general, other than a 3-hour visit with him, he's not a nice man.
Well, I don't think I can recall ever expressing really.
What? Bunch of vultures.
Appreciation for anything.
No, of course he has.
Well, he did express though to me.
Oh, you. Okay.
How much he appreciated our coming to visit.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he did.
Well, I mean,
He didn't express it to me.
well,
And when I even leaned down, I mean, when we got there, I leaned down and said hello to him. When we were leaving, I mean, that's as close as my father and I get to hug. We
well,
never hug.
it's a little bit like me missing what I mean, it's like you were there, and I don't think he said it. I don't think he said it meant just for me.
Well, he could have appreciated it, honey, in whatever capacity that is.
Well, but my point was that he had never actually, despite in all the prior visits, even when we had them over for dinner, you know, and I made them stay, he never expressed appreciation for anything, and so I just noted that.
Well, there could be something to the fact that he's 99 and he's living a very lonely life due to his own actions, words, whatever you want to call it. It's not like this has been a loving person all his life. And nobody's perfect. Nobody is. But he hasn't gone from being an extremely kind, loving, caring, appreciative, nice man to suddenly, oh, well, he's 99 and he's grumpy and now nobody likes him. No!
No, I know that.
Okay.
I totally know that.
Okay. So I'm glad he showed appreciation. But did you also hear, as we were leaving, I leaned down and I said, well, it was sure nice visiting with you. He said, well, it'd be nice if you came back sooner. And I said, well, yeah, I know. And he said, well, why can't you? He said, we both live in Missouri now. And I said, well, it's just a matter, you know, it's an 8-hour round trip. Yeah, but you spend half your time in Europe.
Well,
Like, no, we don't. We don't spend half our time in Europe. Geez, you could have said to me, Dad, oh, I love you. Oh, it was so nice that you came to visit. I know you're busy. Well, you know, if you get he doesn't do that.
I know he doesn't.
And he's not, and I don't, it's okay.
I feel, I just...
Yeah, where are you going, though, with all this? I mean, if you want to go back and see him at some point, but am I going to now spend... Let's focus on this man?
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Okay, well then I don't understand. I do understand.
Let me make the point I'm getting to.
Well, but you're not.
I just feel like there, there's a kinder, gentler version, just locked away in there.
Well, I'm sure there is.
And
but go ahead.
It's just so armored up over. I feel like he doesn't know how to take down that shell, that armor, that heart. He's afraid of something. He's afraid of something.
No, he probably deep down is afraid of a lot of things. He's afraid of emotions. He's afraid of being vulnerable. He's afraid.
Yes, I think that's
okay.
It.
But okay, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's.
But if you think you're going to be the key to unlocking,
no.
Okay, well then, where again are you going with this? I agree.
I just feel it's sad. I don't think that I have that.
You feel sad for him?
I just feel it's sad.
Well, I do.
It's sad that he can't see.
But there are a lot of
a way to unlock, and be nicer, because I think that's in him. He just.
So if your point is, there's got to be a nicer person in there somewhere, and a more enjoyable person. If he could just unlock and be someone else, or be himself, I don't know. But I'm telling you, what we experienced was the nice side of him.
I know that. I know.
I mean, the visit went fine.
I know that too.
I'm not leaving there with any hurt or...
No,
it was fine, but does it trigger in me? It's just the inequity of... It's sort of like how much I've always been willing to give, take him places, do things with him, and I don't get a kind word in return.
I know.
If anything, he's just been plain mean, and he's proud of how mean he is. He used to tell the girls, I'm really a bad man. I'm really not a nice man. And my daughters would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, who says that to your grandkids? You don't emote.
And I totally agree.
So is he one fucked up person? Yes, of course.
I just feel
But he also had this entire life where the conditions weren't bad.
Yeah.
Sure, he hated selling insurance. He hated working at the railroad. He hated everything he ever did. He was never satisfied.
Well, why did he hate those particular jobs?
Because he had answers to somebody. And he's smarter than them. It is this? I get it might come from his years in the military. I mean, he was telling us at the last story, which he's told us before, how, get that picture out of me in the uniform. I never actually even wore that uniform. They just smack it on you, take some pictures, and it's like, yeah, I know. What is your point, Dad?
Well, so is he one of those people where he was smart enough to go to college?
No. Oh, he could have been. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And just, events conspired against that.
No, I think the idea of going to college back then was not even an idea.
Why would it not have been with a GI?
Because he was supporting his mother from the time he was like 12 or 13. He lived on his own from the time he was maybe 14, 15. And then he went into the military. I mean, he didn't get drafted. He signed up.
Okay, but so then...
And when we were talking poor, he barely had enough to eat. We're not talking, he didn't get the car he wanted. I mean, but after he got home from the war, after he married my mother didn't have money either, but she had more of a normal family. I mean, it had its own dysfunctions, of course, but my father had a support system. I mean, I don't think there was anything that terrible about any of us three kids.
Well, no.
I mean, we were normal kids. My dad would talk about how much we kids ruined his marriage. We ruined his life. Again, it is the lack, it's the focus. Now think about Jennifer. Beth and I were talking about, is this a mental illness that skips a generation? And we were joking about, like we're so mentally sound. We were joking about that. And Beth said, but Jennifer did tell me, I don't remember when, but something about you being bipolar like Dad. I said, I'm not bipolar. And she said, well, I'm almost positive it was Jennifer. I said, Jennifer did diagnose me years ago. She sold pharmaceutical drugs, and one of the things she sold, she had to go into psychiatrist's offices all the time, which by osmosis means Jennifer, no psychiatry. And she convinced me, Mom, how could you have ever gone to college unless you weren't manic? You could not have...
And that's when you gained all that weight, is that?
Yes. Yes. And she said, you need to go to my doctor. I said, but he's out in St. Louis. Go to him anyway. Well, Jennifer talks to him ahead of time. I go in, and he just prescribed, I don't know what it was. It was an anti-anxiety, I don't remember. But I know, being on it for a few months, I felt catatonic.
Well, okay.
I didn't have any energy. I did nothing, but nothing bothered me either. I was just sort of like in la la land. And at some point, I got smart enough to go to a different psychiatrist in Kansas City. And they said, you're not bipolar. I do hear, and see, situations where you probably have a depressive disorder and probably some anxiety, which I totally agree with. I've had severe depressive episodes my whole life. And I could blame all of that on my childhood. I choose not to. I could blame it all on my chemistry. I choose not to, because I was more solution-oriented.
So,
So I went to several doctors over a period of years. None of them agreed with Jennifer and her doctor's diagnosis. But nevertheless, Beth was hearing enough about Jennifer, and the more I was reading all this stuff from Joey since they had coffee. This isn't what led up. This is since. Just like there could be an element, a fine thread of truth in there somewhere. Like, yes, Beth, you can be critical. Yes, Beth, you can be controlling. But again, as far as I can tell, nothing transpired to have this kind of result, this reaction from Joey. And Joey was giving her grief about, you haven't even seen me in years. I would think you'd go get help during those 3 years so you could address your problems. If you want to have a relationship, you need to do something on your end. I mean, I was reading it like, oh, there is no... If Jennifer said these things to me, either in person or via text, she's out. Now, if she needed something desperately and came to me, of course, as I would do now. But
I don't know if I would now.
Okay, but again, Beth's thing was, what do you think the likelihood is that this actually is not so much a generational thing where, I mean, there are a lot of articles out there in psychological magazines right now about how today's middle-aged kids want nothing to do with their families.
Yeah, but Joey's situation, think about it.
I know it's different than Jennifer's.
No. Think about, even though I wasn't there, but think about the manner in which Jennifer was encountered. Not with friends, adults, her own age. Not a boyfriend, not a date. Jack.
Yeah.
So Joey drove out alone, and
by choice.
But she couldn't get along. I mean, when we talked about her work,
she doesn't get along with people because of a...
It was main... Well, I mean, she couldn't get along with anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in particular,
but Beth
this one person allegedly, specifically targeted her.
But just know that this isn't the first time.
I didn't even need to know that.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm going.
Okay.
Nobody apparently can satisfy
Yep.
Joey or Jennifer on any level.
Or my dad.
Well, add your dad to the list. It's just, I mean, nobody can meet whatever their expectations are of not just family members, but boyfriends, employers, even friends, I think, because they don't seem to have. I mean, Joey did not talk about, doing anything with girlfriends or anything like that.
No, I understand.
And I don't think Joey was allegedly going to meet Jennifer at school.
Did she?
Well, I don't know if she did or not.
Oh, okay.
But the point is, it wasn't a social setting. It was Jennifer's work situation.
Oh, well, I'm shocked at that. Who's in control then? I mean, I'm talking about.
No, dear. I'm kind of more perceptive about some of these things.
Okay, well,
than you might think.
Well, sometimes you don't appear to be, but okay, okay. So.
I know that I give off the impression.
Okay, let's not. I'm not. Go back to.
So I'm just. It is parental alienation for sure, but it's way bigger than that. I mean,
I agree.
It's way bigger than that. I mean, it encompasses every I should try to look into that. I mean, I feel like looking into that.
Huh?
I mean, I feel like looking into that. I mean, just to see what is there a name for a condition like that.
I would just say it's some kind of a personality disorder. Not. I don't mean it by borderline. I'm not saying that because
Well, I mean,
but there are a lot of personality disorders that you and I don't know about, don't understand.
Oh, well, of course, but I don't think. They could be borderlines, but there's even more to it than that.
Yeah, but I don't think it is borderline. I should not have even thrown that out. I was using borderline as an example of a personality disorder.
Well, I know, I'm just saying. Now that I'm thinking about it more carefully. I don't know, it's almost like borderline plus.
Okay, but again, I don't like labels because we're not qualified to use labels.
Well, okay, I'm not trying to. But, I mean, it's...
And it doesn't matter.
And so, one of the reasons I'm... a few people have... And I've asked myself, why haven't I made more of an effort to reach out to Jennifer?
But I have.
Yes. But my feeling or thought or whatever is well, that really wouldn't fix anything.
But you don't know that.
Well, because I feel like she's kind of pulled this stunt in a milder version a bunch of times before.
Yes.
And toward the end, she was correcting how my terminology, describing Sandy, a band,
Yeah, right. I understand.
So I feel like even if there was a big come to Jesus moment, I'm so sorry, and blah blah blah, I feel like the same thing could happen again easily. And so you just say the wrong thing again, something completely innocuous, and she'd be gone again.
I agree.
So that's why
And that's how Beth feels.
Well,
In fact, Beth asked me, she said, so not that I agree or I can even figure out why she's being so mean to you, why did she cut ties with John? I thought they were fairly close. I said, well, they were. And she said, well, that last day she was there, was John there? I said, John was there and heard the whole thing. I was the one that was still up in the kitchen yelling down to Jennifer that we still loved her. Sort of like, she's the most important thing in the world to us. I mean, words close to that. And she's walking out the door and yelling back either at you, me, all of us, that she won't tell people were dead like I do. Again, have no idea where that's coming from. But she can't have us a part of her life anymore. She's disowning us. So Beth said, so John was there. I said, yes, I'm not making this up. I said, I'm trying to tell you as close to, I said, and I think one of the breaking points for John was Jennifer looked at him and she got tired of my talking and sort of dismissed me and said, I want to hear what your take is on it. And you paused, you thought about it, not terribly long. I mean, it's not like you snapped back at anything. You said, well, I just don't think you have a dog in this fight.
Yep, that's what I said.
And so Beth said, he really said that. I said, well, she asked his take on things, and he was giving it. And he even had to say it twice, like maybe she didn't understand what he was saying. I said, but I think that was John's major no-no. And she said, all of this, though, is in the same character of Joey with, you can say something that is so...
Just innocuous.
It's just, yeah, innocuous, that it means nothing. And they will, Joey will zero in on that and then keep repeating it over and over and over.
Did you tell Beth about the incident on the beach? On the beach where Aaron kept her from going to jail over...
Well, no, but I thought it was irrelevant. I was only answering questions about what had happened recently. But that supports more like when, not so much Swalga's, because Swalga's, she just has a hard time connecting with people. I mean, I love her. I love cashing with her. I think she's a fun friend. I think I tolerate a whole bunch more stuff than a lot of people would, and I choose to spend time with her. A lot of people won't because she's so quirky. But Breezy and Flamingo and Cynthia have all said at some point, they asked me, so are you saying this behavior of Jennifer's is sort of like out of the blue? This is the first time she's said anything like this, behaved like this, punished you like this? And I immediately respond with no. But the difference is, it'd be analogous to growing up in a dysfunctional family that you just find normal, because it's your normal. It's normal for fathers to be filled with rage most of the time. It's normal for them to lash out verbally, physically, whatever, to anybody around them, especially the most vulnerable. You don't spend any time analyzing it. It's not until you get to step away from that for a while and you look back and you go, oh wait, that's not normal. I can define normal. It's still not going to be perfect, but I think I can make it look healthier than that. So, fast forward to Jennifer. If I think about all the times I came back